Muscle cars are about one thing, and that's burnouts. And a burnout in snow is easy, but how about in the dry? Well, Dodge has thought of that. There are different drive modes, and you change them with this button down here. Let me show you. So I'm in auto, I just went to wet/snow. There's custom, but get this, in sport mode, not only is the stability/traction control off, but you can also set it so that all of the torque goes to the rear wheels. In other words, this car becomes rear wheel drive, which makes for, I would assume, some pretty awesome burnouts. $50,000, $55,000, and $60,000. Those are the starting prices of all three new 2026 Chargers. In this video, we're going to find out which of these is right for you. Is it the RT? Is it the Scat Pack? Or is it the all-electric Daytona? Let's take them for a ride and see which one's right. You'll recall that I said that the Daytona starts at $60,000. Well, that's the starting price. But the as-tested price is $80,455, and that's because, while it starts at $59,000, you add another $2,000 for the additional two doors in the back. Then this one has the $5,000 custom preferred package 25S, which gets you things like these high bucket seats, ventilated seats, heated second row, yada, yada, yada. There's also a whole bunch of other things like a track package, this giant sunroof, which also adds cost, carbon and suede package. I could go on and on. But anyway, the price there is $80,455. But the good news is this number, 72 mpg combined, and that's of course because it's all electric. Now, word to the wise, and I suppose you know this, if I were buying this, I'd probably lease it because you're probably going to end up taking a pretty big hit on depreciation, because so far people have not taken to electric muscle cars. But that doesn't mean that this is a vehicle that is not fun to drive or interesting to drive. I'm out here at Team O'Neill, a rally school. Dodge brought me out here to show the prowess of all-wheel drive, because all Chargers are all-wheel drive. And that's a good thing, because unlike in Colorado where we have no snow, there is just a boat ton of snow here. So let's talk about how the Daytona drives. And you probably know this, but I think it's worth repeating. Dodge, when they did away with the original Charger and Challenger, decided to go full electric, and so they came out with this Daytona first, and it kind of hit with a loud thump, and most Hellcat guys and gals were rather disappointed in an electric muscle car, which meant that Dodge had to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to stick a Hurricane twin-turbo V6 under the hood, and they did a good job of that. But I still think there's a lot of demand out there for a Hellcat supercharged V8. But right now, these are the three Chargers that are available. And if you want the top dog, the electric one is it. Because it's got a lot of things that muscle cars are good at. In other words, instant torque, tons of horsepower, and unlike most muscle cars of the past, this one can be silent. And I suspect if you let loose the power shot button right here, somewhat deadly when it comes to acceleration. But being on these wet roads, I don't think that I'm going to be using all 670 horsepower, not unless I want to wrap this guy around a tree. I have reviewed this car before, and the overwhelming sense I get is that it's a very comfortable, very big, very classic American sedan. If you want something that rides well, that has oodles of presence, that gives you a sense of commanding the road, this is certainly one of the cars to be in. Now, my friend Matt over there is backing up because these roads are very narrow, and if you put two cars next to each other, we're going to go off the side of the road here, even though it looks like there's fluffy snow on them. And what that means is that we're going to get this thing stuck, and I don't think that Dodge is going to love the fact that we got a car stuck. So, hey Matt, what's your channel for all the folks? I was just promoting it.
Matt Moran Motoring.
Yeah, Matt Moran Motoring. Check it out. No more. What was your original name? What was it?
Super Dorks Fan.
Yes, that's right. Now it's Matt Moran Motoring. So if you guys want to check out the latest and greatest in automotive news, every Friday still?
No, I don't do that anymore.
No, what do you do now?
Post the little news things whenever they come out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
And thanks for backing up, because there would have been, a plow pulling us out of the ditch.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
All right, we'll see you, man. Take care. Okay,
bye.
yeah, bye. So yeah, check out Matt Moran if you want to catch up on the latest and greatest. Of course, under the hood of the Daytona is a little frunk and 2 electric motors. Well, they're not under the hood, but they're under there somewhere. And that translates to $5,000 more starting, but get this, 670 horsepower. So if you want the one that is the fastest, you're gonna have to go all electric. But then of course you lose that V8 sound, which you lose in all 3 of them, but it does kind of get a V8 sound with that fat Zonic exhaust. But of course, there's sound without any of the fury because, well, it's not real. So one of the things that I could try here is just a little bit of power. Probably do a 4-wheel burnout, but let's give it a little bit of the beans. Oh yeah, going sideways, all 4 wheels spinning. And yeah, don't want to end up in a tree. This is not ideal conditions for making use of 675 all-electric horsepower. The one thing I'm going to say is a lot of you guys, you were just very much turned off by the fact that Dodge went electric. But you have to admit that they have listened to you, probably because sales of this car weren't great at $80,000+ It's a lot of money for a car that's going to depreciate very quickly. And we're living in a time right now when people just seem to hate electric cars. And I think that's a shame, because electricity has a lot to offer. And now I'm sure this is the point in the video where all of you guys, especially Detroit muscle guys and gals, are going to click out. But hear me out before you change the channel or switch YouTube videos. There is a lot of good with electricity, and it starts out with the fact that this car has just oodles of torque. What it doesn't have is oodles of personality, especially from the exhaust. And unfortunately, Dodge selling electric cars to their customers is kind of like selling hooks to fish. This is not anything that most people who love muscle and who love going to drag strips and who love supercharging and modifying their cars want to do. Having said that, this is a very pleasant car to drive. The weight, the instant torque, the way that the car goes down the road, that front air fin that so cleverly makes the car much more 2026 than 1966 is really a way of bringing muscle into the future. The problem, I think, that Dodge and the Daytona ran into right away is that with 670 horsepower, you're going to get spanked at the track by a Lucid, by a Tesla Model S Plaid. Heck, you're going to get spanked by a Rivian quad motor. And it's hard to say that you have the ultimate muscle car when a pickup truck is going to be quicker in the quarter mile. And you can't square that. There's no way that you can kind of put that aside. And I think that the people who love muscle cars, and I'm one of them, love the sound, love the fury, love the fact that there's, hundreds of thousands of little explosions happening in the engine, and that there's if it's a Hellcat, a supercharger sitting on top, which is funneling huge amounts of air, causing those explosions to be even bigger, and all that's coming out the back and scaring the kids and waking up the neighbors. I mean, let's face it, that's part of the charm of having a performance muscle car, and you don't get that in this car. But what you do get instead is, for a better word, oh, you're going to hate this, but I'm going to go there, sophisticated muscle. So if you love sleepers, if you love, the British call them Q cars, in other words, cars that have a lot more performance, but they're not exactly screaming, look at me, with either their exhaust or with their engine note, then this is a really fun car to drive. And I gotta hand it to Dodge. It takes either a lot of stupidity or a lot of balls to sell fish hooks to fish. And I think they figured out that you need to sell worms to fish. If you don't like sophisticated muscle, then all you do is click this. And it becomes very much unsophisticated. I've got it in track mode on snow and ice. Don't tell Dodge. Look, I know it's fake. I know it's just, augmented reality, but this is the world we live in. And I gotta say, augmented reality is better than sophisticated muscle. Will it wake up your neighbors? Yeah, it'll probably wake up your neighbors. Will they know that it's fake? Probably not. And does it really matter if it wakes them up? Think about it. I also think when you put it in track mode, it becomes very much rear wheel biased. And so I'm on snow with all seasons with a very loud Fredzonic exhaust blaring out the back of this thing, going sideways. I almost lost it that time. All right, back to sophisticated. Let me switch to drive mode to wet and snow. And here we are, back to not putting it around a tree mode. That's good. There should be like a wrap around a tree mode. Don't. Let's bring this Dodge Charger Scat Pack Plus to life, and those are real explosions, except there's only 6 of them because it's a twin turbo Hurricane. I know I keep harking back to the Hellcat, the V8 with a supercharger, but we had that car in the Challenger version, and I have to say, it was such a magical car. It was the one that really, to me, exemplified the best of Dodge, the best of muscle cars, and of course, it just came out of the blue with over 707 horsepower, as I recall. But let's talk about this. I said this was 55,000 as tested. We're at 68,000. Of course, when you add in all the fun things like the customer preferred package, which gives you the vented seats, the heated second row, yada, yada, yada. And then you add in, how much is destination? Oh, only $2,000. You're at 68,360. Not exactly inexpensive, but, still, for this is a 2-door, not that bad. There is one thing that I am a little confused about, and I think that Dodge has kind of gone over the edge when it comes to their naming convention. So this engine is the Sixpack, but this is the Scat Pack. The other car's the Daytona. The other one next to that is the RT. You also have Jailbreak. You also have Fredzonic. You also have Hellcat. You also have Demon. Look, don't get me wrong. I love the fact that we have real names for real things and not, Q something or another, but it's gotten a little out of control. So I'm done with my rant, but it is a little confusing. And why couldn't they have just kept the Charger and Challenger? Why did they make the Charger now, once again, oddly, a 2-door and a 4-door? I think it just confuses people. All right, no more ranting. Let's talk about the driving experience, and let's talk about what it's like to drive this vehicle. One of the things that makes this stand out in my mind is the fact that it doesn't have the V8. And a lot of you are going to be like, you can take the V8 from my dead cold hands because a Hemi V8 is what a Mopar vehicle has always been like. And I get that. I'm on board. I understand V8s and muscle cars go together like peanut butter and jelly. But the old V8 wasn't as powerful as this Hurricane twin turbo. I mean, 500 and what is it, like I said, 60, 70 horsepower. That is a boat ton of power. And because it's turbocharged, if you live in some place like I do, which is in Denver at 5,000 feet above sea level, that power actually translates to where I live. So I love turbos, I love twin turbos, and I think when Ford initially went away from the V8 and went to the EcoBoost twin turbo V6, everybody lost their you know what. But now it seems like you get better fuel economy, you get more power, you don't get the V8, but that also means you save weight because 2 less cylinders, and you also get the fun of having some newer technology. All right, you may not think that's fun, but you know, that is all in the eye of the beholder. The other thing that I really like about this car is that it feels a little bit lighter. The great thing about all of the new Chargers is they are about an inch longer than the outgoing one, which translates to a little softer ride, a little better comfort, and there's just something about a big American, I was going to say sedan, but we're missing the 2 doors, but let's call it a sedan because it could be, that is just so wonderful to drive. Sure, it's not nimble, you know, it's not going to be the one that you take down the tail of the dragon, even though Dodge did have a program on that, but it is the one that you can commute to work every day, you can pick the kids up in, and then on the weekends, this thing will put a huge smile on your face. Under the hood of the Scat Pack is also a Hurricane twin turbo, but this one is the HO. That stands for high output. So instead of 420 horsepower for 5K more starting, you get 550. That's 130 more horsepower. And what that means in the real world is instead of 4.5 seconds 0 to 60, the Scat Pack does it in 3.9. Dodge has been very thoughtful in giving us different drive modes. So right now I'm in wet snow, but there's a custom mode, there's a sport mode, there's an auto mode. And the great thing about the sport mode is if you tap over here and then you tap the car, I'm in sport mode right now, and then you attach, I think it's dashboard, and you attach drive mode, you can actually turn this all-wheel drive car into rear-wheel drive car. All right, I'm gonna do it, and let's see what happens when I floor it. Yeah, I go sideways. And there's a Durango coming at me, so I don't really want to go sideways. But that's the cool thing about this vehicle. If you do want to do a burnout, and you're not on a snow-covered road, and you're not afraid of going sideways, you can do a burnout. So for all of you true muscle car fans, that is very nice. They also give you a bunch of performance pages, which do things like give you every single gauge known to man. So if you're a nerd and you like Uconnect and you want to see what, let's say, your oil pressure is, your trans temperature, your battery voltage, or your air intake temperature, you can get all that. And I think that they've done a great job in keeping the volume knob and, of course, the tuning knob. I'm not a big fan of these haptic HVAC controls here, but you know, you do have a lot of redundancy here on the steering wheel. And best of all, you've got paddle shifters, and they don't do region options like they do on a lot of other cars, but they've kept these little buttons in the back of the steering wheel, so if you like messing with the kids and changing the station magically, you can do so with the buttons. So there's a lot to love about this car. And for me, probably the best thing to love about it is that it's an old school, big, heavy, comfortable, and fast American. I was gonna say muscle car. A lot of you might be like, hey, it's gotta have a V8, but let's face it, we're living in different times, so roll with it. Did you know that the average new car price is now $50,000? So what if you want a muscle car that's 4 doors, has room for the kids, has a big trunk? Then this is the car for you, because it starts out at $51,995. That's for the Charger RT Plus. And of course, it starts at $49,000, but then you add the $2,000 for the rear doors, and you're at $51,000. And then as tested, we're over $65,000, but you're getting 20 mpg. which, you know, for a muscle car is pretty darn good. I remember when getting anything that was better than one number, in other words, 2 digits, was really good. So let's see how this RT compares to the Scat Pack and to the Daytona. Now inside, there's very little difference between all of the cars. The biggest difference, of course, is that this one has the least amount of horsepower. But at over 400, it's still a lot. And just like the other two, which is good for us here in New Hampshire, the all-wheel drive comes standard. The size of the car is standard. The look of the car is standard. So you get, you know, all of the goodies of the other two at a much lower price. Now, like I said, this one does have many more bells and whistles, but can you live without heated seats? Can you live without the high back seats? Can you live without leather? I think so. And let's face it, you ain't gonna get your family and your dog into a Mustang GT. No, it's just not gonna happen. So if you want a muscle car that will haul you and your kids around, this is kind of your only choice at this point in time. Now, I bet you're expecting a Hemi. Well, you'll be wrong, because under the hood of the RT is a twin-turbo Hurricane, not high output, that produces 420 horsepower and is paired to an 8-speed automatic. And that's why this is the bargain of the bunch. But let's face it, 420 horsepower, that's still a lot of power for an all-wheel drive muscle car. From a driving standpoint, it drives just like the Scat Pack. It's a little obviously different from the Daytona because it does have that wonderful exhaust note, but the steering wheel is the same, the seating position is the same, the seat comfort's the same, and this is just a car that if you like big old American vehicles, you're gonna love. Oh, this is gonna be a little tricky. Oh, don't get stuck. Oh, we got past him. Wow. So really the biggest difference is you've got 130 less horsepower. And let's see what kind of mode I'm in. I'll just keep it in auto mode, not custom. Let's keep it in wet and snow, and we'll floor it here once again. And on snow, you really can't tell. It's very quick, under 5 seconds, 0 to 60, and that'll put a smile on the kids and the dog's face. The other nice thing about these cars is they have these giant sunroofs, which make them feel very airy. They have interesting lighting. Right now, this lighting, and I can change that, is red, but I can change it to blue. I can change it to all kinds of other colors. Let me see if I can do it for you. Controls, attitude adjustment is what Dodge calls it. And so now I'm feeling a little bit red, but if I go all the way this way, it'll turn blue. Look at that. It's like a Berlin disco. And then if I really want to go crazy, I can go green, or I can go nice white, which is probably hard to see in the daytime. So let's go back to blue. I like blue. Blue is kind of cool. So all that stuff is standard. You do get the same basic 2 dials, which is also nice. Real vents that you can control with your finger. And this flat-bottomed and flat-top steering wheel. And overall, I don't think this is necessarily the value proposition. I think this may be the sweet spot in the muscle car lineup that Dodge has, at least as of today. The one downside that I can think of is that you've got, 2 brother cars that have more horsepower. So if you can live without over 500 or over 600 horsepower, I think this is a great option if you love traditional American sedans. I have 2 questions. First, can you hear the difference between the Scat Pack and this RT? There's only one way to find out. And maybe more importantly, at least for me, do I fit in the back seat? Only one way to find out. So let's find out. All right, as always, I am sitting behind myself, and let's see if this is as comfortable as I think it is. And the answer is yes, look at that. Plenty of headroom, plenty of knee room. I actually have heated seats back here. I also have vents, 2 USB-C ports, and 2 cup holders. But let me show you something else that's cool about this car, and that is, I said fastback, but it's really more of a hatchback. That's a lot of room back there. I bet you if you were to fold down that 2080 split, you could get a bicycle in here without taking the front wheel off. Fortunately, I don't have a bicycle, but let's see, is there a spare tire? And the answer is no. There's only a little inflator kit. If you're looking for peace of mind and you want a spare tire and you don't love the fact that this only has a inflator kit, our friends at Modern Spare do exactly that. They provide spare tires for many modern cars. Check them out by clicking on the link below. Oh yes, of course it is a Stellantis product, so the closing button is on the side. All right, so the Daytona, of course, is the most controversial because while it was the first electric muscle car, it's the one that none of you asked for. Now the Scat Pack, well, it's all muscle, it's wide, it's got attitude, but it's only got 6 cylinders. And the question is, will there be a Hellcat version that's coming? And of course the RT, well, that's the bargain of the group. Starting at just $50,000, this is a muscle car that costs about the same as the average new car. So which one of these 3 do I like the best? Well, for me, I think the answer is the Scat Pack. Until the Hellcat comes around, this is one hell of an all-wheel drive, 2-door or 4-door muscle car. Let me know in the comments below which one of these is your favorite. As always, this is Roman saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Ciao!